is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what we can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys here. I'm going to bring him up in just a second. And, we're going to be talking about the realities of what drivers are going through out there, you guys. Some of those big things, some of those hurdles that they're going through, what they're overcoming, what they're seeing from that side of the industry. And, again, like I say this, anytime I have drivers come on, I want more of you to come on. All right. This is the only way that we're going to ever bridge some of these gaps out there, is if you guys come on, have conversations with us, and let us know exactly what's going on out there. So I have Mr. Avante Jackson on the show today. So thank you so much for taking the time to join me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it.
No, man, it's great. I was glad when you reached out on Instagram to get this all set up. And, for me, it's like I'm always looking to talk to more people who are in the trenches in the industry, right? I think that there's such a gap between, I'm not knocking any large companies out there, but there's such a gap between what enterprise brokers, enterprise carriers go through, as opposed to the ones who are the small to mid-size, which is 97% of this industry. And it's I feel like that those are the people who need the most of a platform to get out there and speak about what they're going through. So before we get into anything like that, man, how'd you get your start in freight? What brought you into transportation?
Oh, well, my start came in 2015. First of all, I've had family that have been in this industry for a while, from brothers, not aunts, but uncles, and my dad, has been a part of this industry, as well as cousins. So I used to work for CVS Pharmacy. I was with them for 5 years, trying to climb the corporate ladder. And then I quickly realized that pharmaceuticals is not my passion or anything like that. And I used to see the CVS semi truck make deliveries to our store. And I just fell in love with the way that, they can maneuver the truck in tight spaces and things like that. And I would ask them a bunch of questions, looked inside the truck. And then my cousin was in the transportation industry as well, was a truck driver. And I seen, what he had going on in his personal life. And he would always, try to get me into it, and my brother as well. So when I lost my job in 2015, my brother, God rest his soul, he actually reached out to me. He was like, "You're not doing nothing. Come jump in the truck with me." I jumped in the truck with him from Charlotte, North Carolina to Victoria, Texas, and diesel got in my blood ever since.
Dude, I love that, man. That's how it goes. I've for me, it's like this. My family's been in the industry for a really long time. I've personally been in it for, coming up on 20 years now. And, all of my experience was always on the brokerage side. I rode along a bunch with my dad when I was a kid and stuff. But, I tell a lot of brokers all the time, I'm like, if you've never done a ride along, do what you got to do to go out there and see what drivers go through day in and day out on the road, because it's going to give you a better understanding about some of those things, because I feel like it's only half the equation. And I feel like a lot of individuals never put, we were talking before we got on the show here, man, a lot of people only see life through their lens. Right. And it's when you're in this industry, especially as a broker, and you're dealing with multiple sides, right? You're dealing with carriers, you're dealing with your shippers and everything else. You got to sometimes put yourself in those seats. And, what's it like out there, man? What's the general sentiment with a lot of the people that you're talking to about the brokerage community from a driver's perspective? And I just be brutally honest, man. This is what this entire show is built on, is it's just brutal transparency.
Well, it sucks. It sucks. And it really breaks my heart that, first of all, I've never been a broker ever.
Yeah.
I'm actually in school right now to get my logistics coordinator degree and operations management degree.
Yeah.
So I'm actually branching out of the mindset of just a carrier or a trucker. Mm-hmm. And this has allowed me to really see, another side of trucking. And the conversation amongst truckers, the water cooler conversation, the truck stops and stuff like that, it sucks because truckers think that it's the broker doing this, the broker doing that. And now me being on the other side of it and really talking to people such as yourself and other brokers and freight forwarders and whatnot, I can really see a really turn point, if you will, because I see what you guys go through.
Mhm.
And I see what you guys go through that us truckers don't know. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bridge that gap. So I'm trying to bring more education into the trucking side of it. And then vice versa. I'm trying to bring more brokers out to the truckers so brokers can feel what truckers go through, as well. But the whole conversation about brokers right now amongst truckers, it sucks. It really does.
Yeah.
And I just want to, because I'm tired of hearing about it. It breaks my heart. I just feel like everybody, like you said earlier, needs to put each other in everybody's shoes to
Mhm.
bridge this gap. Because if we do not, I'm telling you, it's going to be a huge blow up pretty soon. It's going to be a crash.
No, and I think like the sad thing is this has kind of been the overall sentiment for the last probably 30 years, right? Like I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of individuals, everybody thinks that everybody else is stealing from them. I think it's like
Yes.
kind of the thing, right? And I look at it where there are a lot of truths of what the drivers feel about brokers. Again, I only speak to myself and my experiences out there, right? And I've said this numerous times before. I was one of those shitbag brokers that did everything that the drivers are complaining about. I did that earlier in my career. I'm never going to shy behind that. But I
That's
learned
big of you. Not to cut you off. That's big of you to admit that.
you
I
need to, right?
applaud you.
But dude, I was 25 once. I thought I had the world figured out, you
Yes,
know?
sir.
And it's easy to get down there. And especially when you're compensated on how to as much to like how do you making as much money as possible. So it's like when you're out there and you're trying to book a load and say you have a truck for 1,500 and then somebody else comes in and says I'll do it for 1,400. Of course you're going to pull off the higher price truck in more times than not, depending on your compensation model, to put the lower rate on there because you make more money that way, right? Like that's just capitalism in a free market in a nutshell. But like those things happen. And again, I learned the hard way from a lot of those experiences. And I've learned that consistent capacity will beat that model any day of the week. So it's like what we personally do now, where 5 trucking companies do 85% of our freight for my brokerage. I own a freight brokerage. We're moving trucks every single day. We have trucks picking up right now. We have our core carrier base that we reach out to. We pay them more than the open market. And I know that for a fact. But I do that because I need them, right? I need my drivers to be happy. They're a direct representation of me to my customers and everything else out there. So it's like I pay them what they ask for. Now, could I go out there and find cheaper trucks? Yes, but at what? What's that risk? And there's too much risk of doing that model in today's environment.
Yes.
Because I've just found that from my perspective, carriers, customers, they all want one thing. They want consistency. Drivers need consistent freight. And when we're out there and we're sourcing capacity, I want to get drivers who are running specific lanes, specific regions. They know what days of the week they're available in those markets, so I can marry it up and I can go to them first. I don't want to go out to a load board at all. If I can use my core guys, my core carriers, I'm going to use them 10 times out of 10. I'm not going to go out to a load board unless I need to go out to a load board. And I feel like not everybody operates this way. And I understand that. But I'm saying this because like I want the driver communities to know that like the right brokers out there, they don't post their freight. Their freight will never make a load board. So if your first move is to just go to a load board every single time to find your freight, and if you're not out there looking for relationships with brokers, and now I understand not every broker thinks this way, but again, like I would want that, right? Like when I'm out there and I'm interviewing drivers, if we did go to a load board, for example, I'm asking them very specific questions about their operation. I'm not rushing them off the phone. If they rush me off the phone, I won't call them. I won't book them, right? Like I need to know this stuff because if not, I don't want to go. Like if you don't know your operation, I don't want to work with you. Just like you don't want to work with me if I'm a broker and I don't know my operation. Because I see that argument from the driver community often.
Yes, man. First of all, let's go back. Let's dissect everything you just said. So, number one, I really love the fact that you took accountability. Now, when I first started my whole plight and my whole soliloquy about 2 years ago, first of all, make no mistake, I am all for the carrier. At the end of the day, I do
Yeah.
speak for the carrier. I love the carrier. My heart and soul is for the carrier. But accountability, and what I found out within speaking the way that I speak and who I speak for with over these past 2 years, there's no accountability on the trucker's side, on the carrier's side. Just like you said, you want to know about the carrier, about their operation and everything. Man, there's some truckers that will call brokers not trying to answer no questions. They just dive right into the money. And it's like you don't build relationships that way. And there's no secret, just like you said, your most popular freight is not on the load board.
Mm-hmm.
So how do me as a carrier get your most popular freight? By building communication and relationships with you, the broker. So accountability, it all comes down to accountability on the carrier's behalf and the broker's behalf. I just had a meeting a couple of days ago with a brokerage in Columbia, South Carolina, small brokerage, and I'm very grateful, for them. They let me come in, sit down, talk with them, view some stuff behind the scenes and stuff like that. And one of their things is, how can we bridge the gap between carrier and broker, and how can we get carriers to trust brokers?
Mhm.
And my thing is, there's so many carriers that's been burned by brokers. So what can set you apart, from them, from the big brokerages or the small brokerages? What can set you apart for the carrier to trust you, and then vice versa? What can set the carrier apart for you to trust them? Because they started telling me about freight guards and stuff, and I'm not a big fan of freight guards. But then when they started telling me, like, hey, wait a minute, we're not a fan of freight guards either. But I want you to hear how this carrier got this freight guard. Man, when they started telling me all this stuff, I'm like, oh, fuck that. You do deserve a freight guard, So it's the beauty of just seeing both sides is the path that I'm on right now.
No, man, and it is, right? Like, I've personally never filed a freight card against a carrier. I look at it where when it comes down to freight cards in particular and reports in particular, I look at like 90% of them it's a failure on the broker for not doing their job, right? Because I think, like, some people, we used to use the term "set it and forget it." They assign a load and then they never follow up with the carrier to make sure that they received the rate confirmation. They never called the driver. They never followed back up with the dispatcher. And then it's 20 minutes before pickup, and then they're like, "Where's your driver?"
Oh, I never thought about that.
Oh yeah, but dude, there's a bunch of situations that are like that. But I look at a lot of it is like, as a broker, my customer hires me, right?
Yeah.
They don't hire you, they hire me. It's my responsibility to vet the carrier. It's my responsibility to vet the driver, to make sure everybody's all on the same page. Withholding information from anybody never works out in the long run, right?
Correct.
And I think that it's gotten to the point where, and I'm not saying fraud's not a problem and double brokering and all of that stuff isn't a problem. It is a problem, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as some people are trying to make it out, because, again, people don't want to, like, hold themselves accountable to do their job. Because I've found that in my career, a lot of the tendencies that the people who are a higher likelihood to commit fraud and to be fake, they can't answer very basic stuff.
Yes.
And again, it's all down to a communication. I would love to see how much freight is double brokered or stolen where nobody actually talked on the phone. It was all done via email. So there's just little things like that, man. But, like, and that's another thing too, where I feel like a lot of the drivers out there, and I tell drivers when they ask me this all the time, I'm like, I've never once received a bill of lading that doesn't have pallet count. I've never once received a bill of lading that doesn't have the weight, the commodity. I've never received a bill of lading that doesn't have appointment time. Like, a lot of the stuff that they fall victim to is, like, to me, it's like, I've never seen that, right? So it's like somebody's withholding information at that point, and that's an issue, right? Like, you're setting a driver up for failure. I would just never take a load. If I was a driver, I would never take a load if somebody couldn't tell me the exact weight, the exact pallet count, the exact commodity. I wouldn't do it.
Correct. Correct. No, I definitely agree with you. So two things about what you just said. Number one, I've been researching the whole cargo theft. I get on CargoNet quite frequently, and I look at the numbers, and the data. And one thing that I've seen and I've noticed is all the stuff that they tell us at these summits and things like that of how to look for double brokering, or how to spot a ghost broker, or a foreign broker or whatnot. Well, first of all, we need to talk about foreign brokers being out the country. That's first and foremost. And then two, like, one thing I've learned is these popular brokers, they have a bunch of freight agents. And a lot of freight agents do not properly go down the checklist to prevent freight fraud or cargo theft. So that's one thing that I noticed, because a lot of it gets kind of pushed to customer service representatives and things of that nature. So that's number one. And then number two, from the broker standpoint, sometimes the carrier is dealing with high stress issues at home, high stress issues on the road or whatnot, and they're not spotting the fact that, hey, that's a different email, or hey, did you know that this is a different location? So I feel like the carrier needs to work more with the broker on that standpoint, as far as checking in, taking pictures of everything, calling every 5 minutes before they leave the consignee or the shipper. They need to, hey, take a picture of this bill of lading and Raycon together, take a picture of the load, make sure everything is right, the address, and just constantly communicate. And I think if we kind of can try to put things like that into common practices, I think we might be, and I say might because who knows what the future may hold, but I think that we might have a high success rate in maybe cutting down on some of this cargo theft. I know you guys deal with cybersecurity laws and cybersecurity issues, but at the end of the day, with Guy Fieri's load being stolen and still stolen to this day, when I look at that, how could, as a broker or a carrier, how could we prevent that?
That was an inside job. That was an inside job. Somebody at the dock, and this is the component of cargo theft that a lot of people are like overlooking, right? Because they think that a piece of technology can fix that, but they're overlooking the simplicity of what an envelope of $10,000 in cash, hypothetically, this is what happened. This is based on my experience in the industry and my research on this specific case, I think they're overlooking the most obvious thing of what somebody who's loading trucks, making $20 an hour somewhere, what $10,000 in cash information would be given in that situation. And I think once that crossed the border, it got to the transloading facility, and it was put in there, and then somebody just tipped them off. These are the two loads that it's going, and that was it, man. I think they're overlooking it. But like I see that is where cargo theft has evolved here is it's not just high ticket items anymore. I think a lot of people need to start looking at it is you got to start thinking like a criminal when it boils down to it. You got to start thinking, how easy would it be to liquidate an entire truckload, right? Look at Q-tips, for example. How easy would it be to liquidate an entire truckload of Q-tips? Probably pretty easy, right? Yes. Go out there, pallet for $500 or hypothetical, like people need to start thinking a little bit more downstream with this. And this is the problem that technology will always bring is it helps people not think, right? And because like from my perspective, a lot of this stuff that goes on, I think they're not thinking like a criminal. They're trying to think like, oh, this piece of technology is just going to solve it. It's not, because you're overlooking the simplicity of what cash in an envelope would do for something. And like, again, where some of these shippers are. Every criminal organization out there in every major city knows exactly what warehouses are shipping out what commodity, and people overlook what cash would do to somebody's life. Look at it like this. There might be a shipping manager out there who makes $70 grand a year in rural Oklahoma. Well, Say a criminal organization walks in and says, I will pay you $10,000 a month in cash under the table. We just need 5 trailer numbers. You'll never know.
I like it. Yeah, you're right.
Man. I'm not saying that happens everywhere, but I think people are overlooking that component of it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Especially in this economy where everybody's hurting. And if I got somebody that came up and said, "Hey, I need you 10,000 a month," whew, you
Name your
know,
price.
right.
Right.
But then it also falls on FMCSA. Like, can someone please tell me what does FMCSA do in this industry? Because
Nothing.
why we all know California, right, is number one in high cargo theft volume or whatnot. That basically seems like to be the epicenter of where it's all at. Why hasn't FMCSA cracked down on that? Number one. Then number two, when we talk about the relationship between brokers and carriers, why hasn't the FMCSA come down on the states? And this is where I have an argument because I'm a CDL instructor and I take it very seriously. But when you have an influx of people that come into a CDL school, these CDL schools don't do anything. That some of them charging 4,500, 5,000, some of them 10,000 a head, just to teach the bare minimum. So when we have a lot of influx of drivers that come in, get their CDL, and then they say after a year or two, they branch off, become an owner operator, and they don't know business or their single operating costs or whatnot, and they fail. I personally think that should be a course within the CDL school program because we're really the basics of entry to trucking. So when you see the word school, CDL school, when you go to school, whether it's college, high school, middle school, elementary, you're there to learn everything that you can. And I feel like the FMCSA has dropped the ball on a lot of these things.
Everything starts and stops with the FMCSA. I speak about this often on the show. It's 100% their fault. Like, but then again, I look at it is what Secretary Duffy's doing now. Like, he didn't cause this problem, but it's on him to fix it. I just have such little faith that anything's actually going to come of this. I know that there's a lot of people rallying behind ELP and they're rallying behind non-domiciled CDLs. But again, it's like when you look at the data that's out there, 200,000 CDLs are non-domiciled based on my latest research that I've done on that. If you and say, and I'm not saying that this is the case, say all 200,000 of them are illegal. If you remove 200,000 trucks from the road right now, I don't think that's making any significant dent in what is actually going on from a freight volume perspective.
Exactly. I'm glad you said that. Exactly.
Because but again, I talked about this on my show last week. I'm like, English language, the ability to read, write, and speak English is the primary concern for heavy equipment operators out there. The only way to actually fix this, and I said this last week and I'll say it again, they need to pause the issuance of any and all CDLs for whether it's 6 months or a year. Everybody needs to recertify, even American-born drivers, because I would argue there are some illiterate Americans out there who are operating trucks. So if it's the ability to read signs, am I less likely because I was born here? Am I less likely? Am I more safe because I'm illiterate and I was born here? Or is the driver who was born in, say, Russia, who's also like, who's more of a safety risk, right? And that's where, I feel like, and I'm saying that because that is how you remove any and all prejudice, any bias, anything, because it's a complete recertification across the board. If it's truly about safety,
I love it.
That's where my mentality is with this.
I love it. I love everything that you just said because that's true. If it's really about safety, because I did some research back in the summertime about non-domicile crashes within the state of Arkansas, non-domicile versus domicile crashes, right? And if you go back and FMCSA, they post all this data on their website. So I got this from their actual website and NHTSA as well. And if you go and you look at the amount of crash, the percentage is damn near neck and neck. I'm talking about it's like a hair off. And I'm like, everybody's picking on these foreigners or whatnot, but Americans, we have crashes too. And I was really on, you know, OIDA. I was on their side about broker transparency at first, and still on their side about it. But then they kind of got away from that, and they jumped on the non-domicile train.
Yeah.
But they jumped on it, but they forgot about the fact that they were helping NHTSA help cover up underride crashes. Have you ever heard of underride crashes?
I think so, but I'm not going to act like a subject matter expert.
Underride, just for a brief segment, underride crashes are when a car goes up under a semi-truck's trailer, whether it's the back or the side, right? Go and do your research and look up how many underride crashes we have here in America. And did you know that only 17 states out of, I think we got, 51 states or 52 states now? 17 states only recognize underride crashes. So if it's truly about safety, wonder if there's an underride crash in a state that doesn't recognize it. it goes unreported. Did you know that?
I didn't, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So if it's I agree with you. If it's truly about safety, let's make this about safety then.
Yeah. No, and it's the only way that we're ever going to be able to like actually fix things, right? Like we got to call balls and strikes for what they are, you know,
Yes,
and we can't have this selective approach to it, right? Like I know everybody was all over that crash in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that one. But a week later, an American-born driver who I believe was drunk in the state of Georgia hit and killed people out there. That didn't get nearly as much coverage as the one down there. So again, if we're going to be about safety and improving this, we got to call out all of it as what it is, as opposed to the selective bias that is out there. And I don't see that. And that is why my stance is it's a political rallying cry right now, but nothing's actually going to happen from it.
Exactly.
You know?
Did you know before the wreck in Florida that everybody talked about? Did you know that a few months before that, when Publix actually had the same kind of accident and killed, it was an American driver that worked for Publix and killed American people. But you know why that one didn't get any rally cry behind it? Because they said that the Publix driver, they said that the sign, the no U-turn sign, they said that he didn't he took it, and the motoring public that he killed, they didn't recognize the sign, so it was their fault.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous to me.
Same accident.
Yeah.
Same state.
Dude, it's again, and I look at it as well. I always have to preface this. If you're operating illegally under any capacity, whether it's you have an illegally issued CDL, you have any, like, I want them off the road. I want them gone. I want to be abundantly clear. I got to always throw that in there because people selectively clip out my show sometimes. But again, I have the original recordings no matter what. But
Yes,
no, man, it's like I look at a lot of this stuff and it's like if we're ever going to fix this industry like people say they want to do, right? But I don't see complete, like, full circle calling out on stuff. And I'm always going to do that, right? Like, I don't care. I honestly do not care. I'm going to speak my mind on a lot of this stuff when I see it, because again, if it's about safety, if it's about improving the industry, we should go the whole way with it and not just go after 1% of the CDL holders that are out here, because, again, that doesn't make anybody less qualified. If they're here, and I say this with the visa, the visas, the work visas. If they did it legally, that's a completely separate issue, right? If you're here, then your problems with the visa program. Good luck lobbying that in Washington, D.C. to remove work visas from the United States of America, because that's a completely different issue that's out here. And again, if you're doing it right, you're paying your taxes, more power to you. Utilize the system. That's not my concern. But again, you have to be doing it right. You have to be able to follow the exact same laws that I do as an American, right? Like if I can't read and I'm driving a truck, probably shouldn't be driving a truck. You know what I mean?
Yes,
it's just like that. Like we have to remove any and all bias from this. And if we're going to be about fixing the system, we got to fix the system. We got to call it out for what it is.
Yes, sir. But here's the backstory, though, that a lot of people aren't talking about. See, I try to look at things for what they are, right?
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people calling out the non-domicile foreigners, blah, blah, blah. The backstory that I see plain as day with my own eyes is you're calling someone out that's outworking you. What are you willing to do? You know, what are you willing to do? These people are, yeah, they're working for dirt cheap, and you say it's not fair, but look what you do with your business. Look what you do with your money. Look what you, oh, I'm not running that. I'm not going to this state. I'm not, no, you're failing in business and you want to point the finger at someone who's not.
Bingo. Dude, I say that quite frequently. Somebody else's performance in business does not make you a better operator. If you're failing in business, it's nobody else's fault but your own. You got to find a way to become more profitable. I mean, and this isn't even just like for drivers. Like, this is just business in general. Most people don't know their numbers. Like,
At all.
most business owners don't know their numbers in any industry. They don't even have a P&L. You know, situations like that. And again, it's like it's just the basic business acumen. Like, there's always going to be problems. And this is like kind of how I summarize a lot of it. There's always going to be the boogeyman in the room that you can blame. The economy, freight volumes, tariffs, you name it. There's always something you're going to be able to blame. But at the end of the day, it's going to be you looking yourself in the mirror, knowing you didn't do what you needed to do to make your business succeed. I'm not going to say it's easy for people, but you can't blame exterior circumstances every single time you come up in an adverse event in your life. It's not like the sooner more people can accept the fact that your life is in its situation because of you and nobody else. That is when I think most people can start actually moving forward and improving those things. Because I know I've had to have that realization that, you know, I woke up one day and was like, man, your life's a dumpster fire. Guess what? It's your fucking fault. It's nobody else's.
Exactly. I had a heart transplant just a year and 5 months ago. You think I was like, oh, you know, all these foreigners coming in, I guess I can't drive trucks no more. No, I got myself back in shape. I got cleared by the doctor and I'm out trucking again. But if you notice, all those people that are for the ELP and calling out non-domicile and all that, have you ever heard them educate truckers on P&L sheets? Have you ever heard them educate truckers on cost per mile, rate per mile, how to tell the difference? Have you ever heard them educate truckers on business practices and strategies on how you can get a broker? How can you get a dedicated lane? How can you get a trailer pool to where you can go to a shipper? Have you ever heard that? No, they just point the finger and they'll continue to point the finger because they won't look at themselves in the mirror.
Dude, and unfortunately, social media rewards them. Social media will reward that mentality out there. But dude, that's why it's important for individuals like us to continue to team up and create more content together from both sides of the aisle of the industry to help each other out and to help move this industry forward out there. But Avante, I appreciate your time, man. Dude, this flew by. If you're open to it, I'd love to have you back on soon, man, because I feel like we got a lot more to attack here.
I'm open. I could talk to you all day, every day, my friend. I'm open.
I appreciate it, man. Avante, how do people reach out to you if they want to find out more about what you got going on?
They can reach out to me on, I got a website, CDL Shorty D4D. That's my website. I have a Instagram, AV Jackson 28, and my YouTube, CDL Shorty, on YouTube as well. So that's how they can reach out to me. Email is ajavjackson89@gmail.com.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. If you guys can't find him out there on social media, hit me up. I'll gladly put you guys in contact with him. But that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back.